Interpretation. Challenges and difficulties. By Assistant Teacher Durate Ahmad. Translation Department, College of Arts, Mustansiriya University. Introduction. Some people assume that interpreting is just a word-for-word translation of a person's speech. However, the reality is that interpreting is a complex and dynamic process that requires a high level of expertise, training, and experience. It isn't enough for an interpreter to just be fluent in both languages. He or she must also has a wide range of skills in order to provide high-quality interpreting service. Underqualified and inexperienced interpreter can lead to serious misunderstandings between speakers. A high-quality interpreter will have a range of tools and techniques that he or she can use to overcome interpreting challenges and difficulties. Interpreter challenges. Even if an interpreter has a solid grasp of the grammar and vocabulary of both languages, he or she may still face significant challenges if doesn't have a deep understanding of the cultural context of both speakers, doesn't understand how tone is used to convey meaning in both languages, hasn't done enough preparation to acquaint himself/herself with subject-specific jargon, unable to hear the speaker properly. Here are some key challenges. Lack of cultural awareness. Anyone who has communicated with somebody from a different culture will understand that even though a common language is shared, misunderstandings can occur because of cultural differences. In different social and cultural contexts, words can take on new meanings, and certain regional slang, idioms, jokes and phrases can be meaningless when directly translated. For example, can you imagine if somebody directly translated the phrase "take a hike" into another language with no explanation? A good interpreter will have a deep understanding of both speakers' cultures in order to accurately convey what each speaker is saying. An underqualified or inexperienced interpreter may struggle to convey the meaning behind phrases that don't have a literal meaning. Difficulty hearing speakers. This may sound obvious, but difficulty hearing the speaker is a very common issue in interpreting. This issue can be caused by poorly set up audio equipment, particularly in remote settings, or the speaker mumbling. An experienced interpreter will ensure that all the audio equipment is working properly and will know when to instruct the speakers to encourage them to alter their speech so they can be understood. An underqualified interpreter may not know how to respond to this challenge and may simply omit words that he/she couldn't hear properly, which may lead to an inaccurate delivery. Interpreting technical subjects. Interpreting often takes place in contexts with subject-specific jargon that can be found in legal, medical, business and conference settings. An interpreter must ensure that they have acquainted themselves with jargon that may arise. For example, few people would be able to translate medical-specific terminology such as myocardial infarction without any preparation. In certain scenarios, it is possible to choose an interpreter who is experienced in a specific field. Certain interpreters are familiar with medical jargon in multiple languages. However, if the subject matter is very specific, the interpreter may need to be briefed on the topic beforehand so he/she can prepare. An underqualified interpreter will translate a conversation by a confusing and unclear way. 4. Difficulty interpreting tones. Imagine somebody saying, "Oh, that's just great," in a positive, genuine tone and now in a sarcastic tone. What was an expression of approval in one tone can suddenly become a way of expressing extreme discontent simply by taking on a different tone. This shows the importance of an interpreter's ability to understand the speaker's tone, as meaning isn't just conveyed by words spoken but also by the tone it is delivered. Failing to properly understand sarcasm and humor can lead to serious misinterpretations, which many inexperienced interpreters fall for. How can you avoid these interpretation challenges? The key for interpreters to overcome these challenges is simply by gaining experience. As interpreters gain more experience, they will develop a deep understanding of cultural contexts and gain the ability to interpret the tone of voice accurately. When it comes to interpreting, there is no substitute for experience, and hiring an unqualified interpreter will likely lead to confusion between all parties. Interpreting is an incredibly challenging process that requires extensive training and experience. It's not enough to simply be fluent in both languages. For high-quality interpreting services, you need somebody who is trained in overcoming common interpreting challenges. An excellent interpreter should have that kind of excellent on-the-spot performance. When you encounter something you don't understand, immediately open your mind and figure it out with your heart, or ask the speaker or listener for advice, asking for retelling, hints, explanations, etc. These are proven solutions. Interpreters should pay attention to cultivating and improving their listening ability and adaptability, getting rid of inferiority complex and fluke, and enhancing initiative and flexibility. Thank you for your listening.